A number of people that shoot for the moon. He said Rick shoots for Mars.
And it was always family run and family first, for sure.
We've had a lot of things that's happened, a lot of, should we say, earthquakes, but we've always regrouped, and that's why the core is so solid. That's why the core is so strong.
Regardless of what we do it safely because we know what we're handling, we know what we're getting into, and we could put the right controls in place so nobody gets hurt.
It's built by the field for the field because we're speaking your language.
We didn't have anything even as half as good as what we have here. It really is that good, and man, this needs to be protected at all costs.
I don't think I've ever worked with the CEO that's so hands-on like him, and him challenging our day-to-day workers.
I think deep down he'd be proud. Yeah, be proud of his son and his daughter.
But I just feel like things don't happen by chance, right? I feel it was very purposeful that he reached out.
Where are we going to be in 5 years? Where are we going to be in 10 years? And how do we need to start working towards that?
I feel like I'm a steward of the business, so building something bigger for the future generations. Yeah. If you get a chance, ask him about how it all started, Rev1, because I was probably 8 years old.
We met doing a startup at a nuclear plant here in Texas in 1985. And we worked similar systems, worked, off and on together. And it was a couple-year-long project, so it was quite a while. Got to know Jan real well, Rick's wife. And our paths were very similar. From high school into the Navy nuke program, what we did in the Navy nuke program, and then how we got into commercial nuclear plant startups, and started the idea of we ought to do some things on our own. There's a better way to skin this cat. And the discussion started. It took a year or so to start our first commissioning type company, services company, which was the precursor to Rev1. But very similar in foundation and structure and process.
I worked for the company that Rick owned prior to Rev1. When I got out of the Navy, I did a stint at a trash power plant trash burning power plant. Knew that I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life, so a friend of mine who was working for Penn Power at that time, doing gas turbine training for GE in Schenectady, connected me, and I got hired down there and ended up meeting Rick, and we hit it off pretty well over the years, and we did some projects together at Penn Power. And then when he left Penn Power, I stayed there for some time and ended up moving down to Florida to take a corporate role with them. And we went to a car race together, and one thing led to another, and next thing you know, we're starting Rev1. I was in the first initial meeting when they were sat on Dick's back porch. My dad and him had talked about starting Rev1. I always was around people in the industry. My dad always had people with Penn Power and working in that company. And when he sold it, he went and did his own thing, doing racing and stuff. And that's kind of how I got into the racing. But he always had that itch to come back into the business. So after his non-compete was over, after 3 years, pretty much right after it was over, he and Dick got connected, and that's how it all started. So yeah, they went back into business, and we sat on Dick's back porch at his house in Florida, and they talked about it, and off they went. So the business started out of our front office in our house, and it was there for probably a year. So there was a revolving door of engineers that were coming into the house, and people that were working on projects close by that would come over, and it was frustrating for me because I was in math class doing algebra or whatever, and it'd be simple questions, and then we'd have these guys super over-engineer the problem and taking wind resistance and everything else. It's like, it's just a simple problem. I just need an answer, So my homework supposed to take 15 minutes, it would take an hour. But it was really cool to see all the guys, and being a part of all that was really neat. The name came from a mutual friend of ours, more Rick's than mine, that worked in the industry, and we were struggling for names, and we'd been working on a name for a while. And he sent an email, and he sent it to both of us, and he was like, well, it's Revision 1 to your original company, so, and you guys like car racing, so just call it Rev1. And I'm like, I like that. That's good. So that's how the name Rev1 came to be. And being we were both nuclear guys, we deal with a lot of revision, Revision 1, Revision 2, whatever. So Rev1 is where it landed.
The initial people were almost exclusively from the field. We weren't developing commissioning programs, if you will, procedures by hiring procedure writers, technical editors. We were bringing in people that actually did commissioning for a living. The recruiting was primarily made up of people who were commissioning people. And then also with that same future thinking, building in some very innovative, programs that early development of what's now become Tracker, was a long time vision of Rick's. That took a long time. It took the software to get there to be able to support Rick's vision.
My dad was always thinking of the next thing. He was always trying to innovate and figure out what he could do to make something better. Or there were so many stories about science experiments in our house. My mom was always angry because he'd take over the kitchen with a bunch of random stuff. He was always thinking of new ways to do things, which was, I think, where I got the innovation aspect. Was there's always a better way to do something, so you should never be set in your ways. You really should be open to evolution and adapting to new changing landscapes. And that's the ethos of Rev1, is we're always constantly figuring out how to do things better.
Our timing was good. The industry was kind of in a real good upcycle. Both myself and Rick believed providing a place for people to come to work where they could get a peace and a place where that they felt like they were more than just a contractor. So really just focused on taking good care of the guys in the field, and it came back tenfold over the years. And we were really good at it. Like we took good care of our guys.
Well, I think with all good movies, there's different acts, right? So there was the first act, which was the entrepreneurial spirit, which came from Rick Ehrgott Sr, really, and Dick, who's still with us, of course. So that first kind of rocky rags to riches fight for the first 10 years, maybe 15 years actually, the whole spirit of the company, the foundation, the values was really set by those two guys. So Rick Ehrgott Sr and Dick Emery. They were the guys that really had the dream, had the vision, and brought it to life, and got the trust of a certain sector of clients.
He said there's a number of people that shoot for the moon. He said Rick shoots for Mars, and that's where Rick was. He wasn't looking at primarily anyways of what could we do next year. It was, where are we going to be in 5 years, where are we going to be in 10 years, and how do we need to start working towards that.
And that's why he started Rev1, was to give back to the people in the field and really take care of the guys and the people that are working for us. And family, integrity, respect, safety, and trust, it's key. All of those are foundational qualities and foundational principles that everybody in the business must have in order to be working with Rev1 and be a part of the family. And that's the legacy I want to leave, no matter how big we grow or how much we diversify or anything like that. That's really the core of the company, and that's what he wanted, what my mom wanted. That's key.
I don't think I've ever worked with the CEO that's so hands-on like him. But also for my role coming in as an IT director has been his push for staying on top of the changing trends and him challenging our day-to-day workers of, hey, how can you use tech to grow your department? How can you use tech to, make your workflow faster or make your job a lot easier? And of course, part of the reason why I came was a good salary jump for me and my family. But I think the one thing that has kept me here has been the culture.
This journey really began about 7 years ago. Rick Ehrgott reached out to me on LinkedIn and said he was looking for someone to come and support his recruiting department. He'd like to have somebody come in and possibly bring in a strong leader to help them grow that department at the time. This one felt different. It felt genuine. And it felt like somebody that had already thought about this and had a seat at the table prepared. So it was really, really cool. So met everyone on the team at the time in every department. They wanted to get to know me on a personal level. We had lunches. I sat down and, learned a lot about tracker technologies. And this is 7 years ago, before the big launch where we are today with Tracker. So it was really exciting seeing, how excited they were about Tracker then. And, like I said, when I showed up, they had a table already prepared for me, and I wasn't even an employee yet. Right? They hadn't even made the decision they wanted to bring me in, but they wanted me to feel like that already. He didn't have to sell me on the culture. That was already a done deal. I just wanted to know the vision and where we were going. And with Ricky, he's that captain, and he's got that navigation and that clear, he knows exactly what he wants and where he wants it to be. And I can follow that.
You're not filming now, are you? The intelligence of Drew to see that vision and to be able to work with him, I was always very happy and proud of that, because it felt like I was part of something big. And then when I left Rev1, I want to say 2018, and then came back in 2024 to see what Tracker Check has evolved into, it's just, I know you were part of that back 6 years before, and to what it is now is 9 day, but it's just something like that's cool. That's neat. And to see Drew's vision come to fruition like that, and Tracker Check and Rev1's vision to come to fruition like that it's special. It is. And I'm glad I'm part of it.
So the leadership philosophy is that you see it, you own it. So it doesn't matter who the person is, whether it's a leader or somebody that's brand new. If they recognize the hazard and they know it's a hazard, they own that. And it's up to them to make the right actions and communicate it, or use their stop work authority to make sure that it's recognized and it's handled correctly. So that's really the leadership philosophy, is not just top down, which is important. The leaders in our organization support those behaviors, the right behaviors, and that's what's important to me.
We've had a lot of things that's happened, a lot of, should we say, earthquakes, but we've always regrouped, and that's why the core is so solid. That's why the core is so strong, because when those crises happen, and believe me, they will happen in any business, but when they do happen, to strategize, get together, work out what's going to work best, what isn't going to work. The ability to do that and stick the course. Resilience is a huge word in business, in my opinion. That's a core characteristic that can't really be learned. You've got to be resilient.
There was definitely uncertainty. There was definitely a question of, what can I be successful here? Is this something that I think I can do, and I can actually help the business? I didn't want to just come in and be an owner of a salon. I wanted to actually really make a difference and not be one of those generational kids who just feed off of a family business. I wanted to really make something of what we had. So that was my entire drive from day one when I started, was, okay, this is something I really need to do. And it gets back to that making my dad proud. I needed to do something to show him that, hey, this is going to be something bigger, and it can be something bigger.
I mean, there was times when we weren't sure we were going to be in existence the following week. Like, we started with a insurance company. I won't name them, but and we had this Spectrum workers' comp insurance policy, and we grew so fast that our workers' comp insurance was canceled on like a Thursday, and on Monday we signed all those employees over to this PEO to pay and insure until we could solve the problem. And of course, these people are on jobs, and we have we have provided insurance certificates to all these customers, the Accord for our workers' comp policy, and we had to update that and update our customers, and I would consider that a crisis. There was weeks where we didn't have money to cover payroll, and a lot of the problems that small companies have that you seem to find your way through. But that one was a biggie. I mean, there was always challenges. We seemed to figure out ways to work through them.
Yeah, I would say he passed away in 2019, and that was when it obviously was official. It was like there was nobody else, so I'm moving into this role. And it really never really dawned on me, and it really still hasn't, to be honest. I just feel this tremendous responsibility on my shoulders to make sure that everybody in the company is taken care of, that the people in the leadership that we put in place are servant leaders that make sure that the people are taken care of and they're safe and the projects are safe, and we're not doing anything that we wouldn't want to overextend ourselves on.
The future at Rev1, I'm hoping, and I'm leaning towards the same stance that we have. Regardless of the change of the industry that we're in, we keep our core values and we keep our care for the people.
So I think Rev1's got a phenomenally bright future, especially with Ricky at the helm.
Well, I think the tracker will become a big part as AI grows, as the partnership with Oracle, becomes more widely known and in use, I guess you could say. I think tracker will expand, and I don't even know that I know what it'll look like 15, 20 years from now, but it will be different and much more, I'm sure.
How do I keep moving forward and moving the business forward and making sure that people are running the same way and pulling on the same side of the rope? And that's the leadership team that we brought in is fantastic. I think it's all about the people, and we have the right people in place now to really scale the business and grow the way we want to.
Basically, if you're in a construction industry, building projects, whether it's an offshore platform or an LNG plant or an SMR or a data center, Tracker Check is the household name. That's the go-to solution for your projects.
Well, I'd love to still be here after another 25 and maybe not here, hopefully retired and on the beach somewhere by then. The trajectory of growth is just impressive. The things that we're doing. I think there's just so many opportunities for the company to continue to grow.
I think what excites me the most is we have an industry full of really smart and talented people that are looking for that company where they're not just a number. They are a name, and they matter, and they have value. And I am excited about being the employer of choice in our industry. I want us to set the gold standard to be the employer of choice. That's what I'm most excited about.
I hope they say that it's still the family business that it was when it started. It's hopefully we're a lot bigger and we've grown into a lot of different areas, but we still maintain that same philosophy, the same first core values. That means so much to everybody here. And I think that's what's so special about the business right now, is that everyone really feels that in the organization.
If you could say something to your dad right now as we celebrate this major milestone of 25 years, everything that he built, everything that you've built on his legacy, what would you say?
I don't know. I don't think I would say anything to him. He would tell me I'm probably screwing everything up, but I quietly would be happy and excited that we're growing.